Alright everyone, now that we're nearing the end of spoiler season for Strixhaven, School of Mages, we're doing a top 5 countdown of the best cards in the set. Let's do it! To open up, we're going to start with our honorable mentions, the cards that just weren't good enough to make the cut. Wah, wah. And to begin that list, we have Harness Infinity. I know this card is insane. An instant speed for 7 mana. I just got to see how it develops. That's really it. That's why I didn't make it into my top 5. The next card, Volumachus Lorehold. If you need to know why this card is good, just look at Winota and you'll know why. It's almost the same thing and just an insane card. Unfortunately, it doesn't crack the top 5 though, which says a lot about how powerful this set is. To round out our honorable mentions, we're looking at 2 instants from the set. One is Double Major, and holy crap is this card amazing. With the Quantum Quandrix face card of Commander 21, it just goes insane. And then you have the other card is Rushed Rebirth. I like the fact that you can target any creature with this, and after a wipe, you could potentially have your best piece on the board after everyone loses everything. These 2 instants don't really crack my top 5 because at face value, they don't really change the game all that much. There needs to be things to set them up to be good. All right, let's kick it off with number 5, Galazeth Prismari. What an incredible card. A 4-drop, creates a treasure, is essentially 3, it's a rock, creates a rock. Galazeth Prismari is amazing. The only real comparison we have to it is Urza, Lord High Artificer. Now, it's not nearly as good as Urza, but this is essentially Urza Light with an additional color, with a bit of a restriction saying you can only use the mana to cast instants and sorceries. But we can build around that. We can really start establishing a structure. If you choose to build Galazeth Prismari as a commander, you basically have an inspiring statuary in the command zone, which when you pull it out, gives all of your instants and sorceries improvise in a way. There's a few cards that I put on the list that you'd want to throw into a Galazeth Prismari deck. Fury Storm, Echo Storm, Shatterskull Smashing, Seagate Restoration, Spell Swindle, Turnabout, Pirate's Pillage, Electro Dominance, Crackle with Power, Finale of Promise, Stroke of Genius. He enables all that to happen at a more efficient rate. Those are already very powerful cards, and that is why he is the number 5 card. All right, moving on. I feel like I've said enough about Galazeth Prismari, so we'll move on to the number 4, because this one just absolutely hoses Galazeth. We're talking about Culling Ritual. For 2, a black and a green at sorcery speed, destroy all non-land permanents with mana value 2 or less. Holy crap. This punishes treasures. Finally, we have a way to punish treasures. It either forces your opponent to sacrifice them all, or you destroy them all and get mana in return. If your opponents have established their Moxes, Crypt, Vault, let's say Thrasios, they have Swiftfoot Boots, Lightning Greaves, Burgeoning, all that stuff. Like, once they've become established and you're able to get to 4 mana, this can just dismantle their advantage and shoot you out of a cannon and put you so far ahead of them that they are gonna have little to no hope of recovering. That's why I love Culling Ritual. It is so good. It finally punishes the low curve competitive scene. The more you're able to blow up with Culling Ritual, the more you're able to establish dominance over your opponents, which is why it is so freaking good. Like, this card, oh my God. Ultimately, what it does is this dissolves the advantage that other players have been establishing with permanents with mana value 2 or less. And that happens so often. And the game's been getting faster and faster and faster and faster and faster and faster and faster. And we're all starting to tech like 2 mana rocks into our decks, like Mind Stone and Felwar Stone. I mean, Arcane Signet's a staple. So all of those like low end ramp or advantage cards are susceptible to this. A single year goes by, we're gonna be seeing this as a staple in anything in black and green. Number 3, we're looking at Beladros Witherbloom. This dragon's nuts. The entire time spoiler season was going on, I was sitting here. It was F5 season, baby. I was like waiting for them to announce this card. I had no idea what it was gonna do, but I was so excited from the premise that the 4 previous Elder Dragons had established that I was like, this one's gotta be nuts. And when it was revealed, it is nuts. Nuts. It is so good. At 7 mana, that doesn't matter. It's a 4/4 flying that creates a token, a pest token at every upkeep that when it dies, you gain a life, and then you can pay 10 life. This is the important part. You can pay 10 life and untap all your lands. Did we learn nothing from Zakama? Once you get to the 7 mana threshold, the spell is free. Well, or says you may pay 10 life instead of paying this mana cost. The real challenge in building Beladros Witherbloom is in finding something to sink your mana into, because the card gets even better when you realize that you can untap your lands on any player's turn. And it says you can only do it once per turn, but that doesn't matter when you build in all the redundancy in the world. So as long as you're able to sink your mana into something, you can generate so much value. There are enough spells out there that help you recover from the effect or able to use the mana to an effect that allows you to win the game before you just die. But those are like Exsanguinate and Torment of Hailfire. You can also use cards like Genesis Wave or Court of Calling and tapping all your pests to use that. Or Finale of Devastation, go get your Seaborn Muse so you can generate even more value and untap all your lands even more. And go crazy, man, because this card's just nuts. It is so nuts. Nuts. Beladros Witherbloom could potentially be a mistake. When you get to 7 mana, you'll find out why. Another cool card I thought would go in there well is like Dread Summons as an alternate win condition beyond Exsanguinate and Torment of Hailfire. Because if you're able to mill everybody and then pass the turn, then they just lose the game before you do. And you get a ton of zombies. Number 2, we're looking at Jadzi, Oracle of Arcavios. Because, oh my god, like if green and blue didn't need even more land support or card draw support or storm support or whatever this card is meant to do, it definitely didn't need this. This is so insane. Putting into perspective the whole discard a card to bounce Jadzi back to your hand, and so you're able to enable the ability to cast the spell to put all lands from your hand onto the battlefield, untapped, mind you. The crazy part is that card should go to the graveyard, but it has buyback as long as you control 8 or more lands, which you're going to. Let me spoiler alert, you're going to have 8 lands. All you have to do is discard a card and it comes back to your hand. Once Jadzi is out of the command zone, I hardly see it ever going there again, unless it's countered or something of the like. When Jadzi is on the battlefield and you're able to cast the spell, reveal, and then if it's a non-land, you can pay the 1 and cast that card. Oh, but wait. Jadzi triggers itself because then Magecraft happens again. And it says, oh, you paid 1 to cast that card? Oh, well, let's look and see what the next one is. Oh, I can also play this one. I have 1 more mana. Let's do that. Oh, let's look at the next one just in case. Oh, that's a land? I'll pay the 1. I can see it where you rifle through your entire deck and then fastest Oracle for the game too. We'll see how that goes. But this card is so powerful at face value, you just don't quite see the scope of potential that it has. That's why it is my number 2 card. Because no matter how great my memory or how great my knowledge of the card pool is, the potential of this card is unforeseen. It is so freaking strong. And another thing with these MDFC commanders that have sorceries or instants on the back of them, as long as you have infinite mana, it doesn't matter if it has buyback or whatever, because when it transitions to the different zones, as long as you have infinite mana, you also have infinite storm. So these commanders also say, you know, you might as well build storm into me if you can generate infinite mana. Because if I cast the backside, I don't have to discard a card, it just goes to the grave, it goes back. Yes, it costs 2 more, but I have infinite mana now. So, and increase the storm count to whatever you want, and cast the next spell to win the game. That's another part of this MDFC commander stuff that if you haven't quite realized that, it's another reason why they are so powerful. And finally, the #1 card. Holy cow, I can't believe they made this card, because Wandering Archaic is nuts. Nuts. Where do I even start with this? One, it's colorless, so it goes in every deck. Now, we always wondered how annoying it would be for Smothering Tithe to be on the battlefield, and more people started playing it. And then we started realizing, God, I hate when that player asks me if I'm gonna pay 2. No, I'm not paying 2 for your treasure. And it generates so much value and advantage for that player that it's now $30. Mark my words, remind me 2 years, it'll be a $20 card for the standard print, basic, non-extended, non-foil, base package card is gonna be $20. Because this says one-sided plays are no longer one-sided. I don't even know, man. For example, a lot of these competitive decks, they want to speed out of control. They want to get to their combos or get to their pieces as fast as possible. And they're generating mana at an insane rate. So if you're able to get to 5 mana on, let's say, turn 3, and you say, okay, I will cast Wandering Archaic, and then you will hear the table groan audibly. Because the next player goes, well, turn 3, I'll play my land, and I will cast Cultivate. And you look at them and you go, would you like to pay 2? And they go, I don't have 2 mana. And then you go, okay, I will copy that. Here's the first thing. My copy resolves first. Wandering Archaic trigger, the Cultivate underneath. Trigger, you're gonna pay 2? No. Copy resolves, and then this. And this is why the one-sidedness is so good, because anything that is one-sided, you get to do it first before that resolves if they can't pay for it. Wandering Archaic is going to force players to be humble about their plays. They're gonna force them to play within their own means, because you have to have 2. You have to have 2 in order to pay for this. Otherwise, that player is just casting spells for free. Everything that you're doing to generate your advantage and move your game plan forward, that player is also going to be able to do. Wandering Archaic is not okay. Kill on sight, counter on sight. That's how powerful this card is. It goes in every deck. They could have printed this and it could have 5 white blips, and I would have built mono white turbo to get to that. This card changes the game, and that's how powerful it is. This is why it's #1, because at the end of the day, when this card hits the board, you are conscious of it constantly. Like if it's in the grave and you're playing against Kenrith, you are conscious of it. If you're playing against someone who is able to pull it from the grave or recur it or copy it or whatever, you are conscious of it. When you sit down at the table, you're conscious of it. This thing gives me nightmares. I see it and I immediately think, whoo, mama, daddy like, you know, like, holy shit. In comparison to like Jadzi, this card doesn't have a ceiling. For the rest of time, for the rest of Magic, this one doesn't have a ceiling because it transcends the timeline. You know, like with Smothering Tithe, whenever a player draws a card, that is a fundamental mechanic of the game. With this, you're always going to be playing instants and sorceries in your decks regardless. I think there's only a few decks that won't, and that's like Nikaya of the old ways. Very niche decks are going to avoid this, but almost every single one is going to run into the problem of what do I do with Wandering Archaic? Fractured Identity on God. I was like, oh, you could Fractured Identity Wandering Archaic and give that bonus to every other player. But then the Wandering Archaic says, are you gonna pay 2 for that Fractured Identity? Oh man, so good. It's so good. That rounds out my top 5. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to subscribe and join our Discord. We got a growing community on there. We're going crazy on there. We're talking about all this stuff. And you can talk to me at any time. So we'll see you later. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more episodes. And yeah, the old Midwestern goodbye. See ya. Bye. I hope everything's okay at home. Take care of your pooch. See ya. Nuts.